Hello, welcome back to BLENDERSUSHI Live Noding. In this episode, I'm going to do just an improv on Sverchok and MetaBalls. Once again, we're gonna do MetaBalls, but not with particles. Just MetaBalls with how it works with Blender Mesh and how it can generate Dupli Verts and Dupli Faces. It's very much a Blender thing. So let's see. We know that with MetaBalls in Blender, you can just parent it to anything. Just if you parent it to a cube, and then with the cube being selected, you go to the mesh and then find a Dupli Vert, and you can have duplication on the Vert based on this parent. And then you can also have a Dupli Face, which is gonna be duplicated on the face supposedly, and it's not doing it at the moment. Maybe I need to do need to separate the face or something. There's also Dupli group. I think Vert and face are the one that's interesting for me. But normally doing it this way, and then it's not fun because you kind of need to go to edit mode, and then you need to edit your mesh and whatnot. But we know that Sverchok can generate mesh on the fly, so let's don't do it this way. Let's go to compositing, go to Sverchok, and the easiest way to do it is just a random vector. Okay, let's do this. Sverchok. What is this? Sverchok MetaBalls Advanced. With random vector we can have random points in the scene. Of course, they're scattered around this kind of spherical thing, but if you want to have more evenly scattered, we can use a randomized input vertices as well and just increase the amplitude, so now they're a little bit more random. So that's also like a useful little trick there. We can use the points to kind of spawn our metaball. So that's the first trick we learned. It's still pretty basic but useful nevertheless. So if we have like bmesh mk2, and here, be careful, turn on merge, because otherwise you end up with a lot of objects easily. You want to merge it into a single object. So vertices plug into that guy, and now you have points, a single object called alpha, here alpha specified right here, and then just like a point cloud that you can with the point clouds you can just parent metaball, any kind of metaballs, and it should be, yeah, I think it should work. Let's use the balls, but I'm kind of interested in like a square metaball as well, because maybe the rotations will affect it somehow. So let's parent this guy into this guy, Control P, object, set parent to object, and then with the points being selected, go under vertices, and then we have our duplication. Rotation doesn't seem to be affecting it. I don't know, I just like to turn it on. I think the rotation is controlled by the vertex normal. I'm not sure how vertex normal can be controlled using Sverchok. Maybe we can do it in a clever way, like using the object ID. But for now, it's just, bunch of points doing that. Pretty simple, pretty basic, but still pretty interesting. And if you feel like, okay, I want to make like some kind of lava lamp kind of structure, it's quite easy to do as well. You just need to use a wiggle. I'm gonna demonstrate it to you real quick. So I do this trick quite often with a vector noise. I always do this like multiple times, so maybe it's a good idea to create a nodes tree for this. Let's say you have these random points, and then you don't want to just randomize the seed. You want to make it kind of moving in an interesting kind of way. So we want to push it, right? To push it, you use vector math. Just use an add, and then just add two kind of vectors to kind of push the vectors using the vector noise. That's the idea. Vector noise goes in, but it needs to be pushed by something. So I'm pushing it using this, for example. Actually, sometimes I just do it this way, but if you're doing it this way, what's really pushing the noise, right? You need to push the noise as well. So we need to add this thing to that guy, and then the noise can be pushed by another vector in, just a single vector. So that's the whole idea. It needs to be pushed slowly, so we can use frame. It can be pushed in any XYZ axis. I'm gonna use math right away and then multiply the math. This multiplied by 0.02, so it's kind of smooth moving particle, just like the lava lamp. I'm reducing the resolution here, but you can increase it. So it's of course faster if I increase the resolution. The bigger the number means less resolutions. The smaller, like 0.3, that's it's gonna be more high res, but just keep adjusting it until you feel like, okay, that looks nice. Smaller number of MetaBalls is okay. Of course, what would be nice is to have control over the scaling of the MetaBalls as well, not just points. And so in order to do that, you can do that in multiple different ways. If you use particles and multiple like a particle scaling, particle radius, you can control the MetaBalls more easily. So particles, maybe we need to use Sverchok to generate points, and the points need to emit some particles, and then the particles can have control over the radius. It's kind of a long process, but it might be worth it. It's definitely consideration. So we know how to do this with points, so that's something that we learned already before. Now what if we use a Polygon face? Okay, let's create another node 3. This time we're gonna use plane. Plane in Sverchok is just a single polygon. You see the single polygon that's not in the center. It's just the way it's been made. I think I like it to be in the center. There's a trick that's shown by Nikitron that I forgot, but I think Polygon Boom kind of does it as well. I want to center this polygon. Oh no, Polygon Boom doesn't do it. Vector drop, maybe. Vector matrices. We don't have matrices. Matrix in. Yeah, I think this kind of center the polygon. Polygon boom, the drop, step. Oh well, at least this is centered, so it's okay. Save this and gonna frame this. I think there's a better way to do this. Now we want to make a like duplication. We can see we can use something like this, just another plane, and then plug the positions and then increase it. Supposedly Okay, that's okay. That's interesting. Maybe randomize the scale. Random. For the scale, we just need a single value. So random number generator is a good one. Use float, random scale between this low and high value. Vector in for the scale. 1, 2, 3. That guy. Now the number of duplication should match. This guy. 4 by 4. Maybe we have 16. This and this and that. Okay. Okay, we get it. Like a random scaling and position. To randomize the position, we can use random input vertices here. Just randomize. Cool. Now with this guy, instead of just a preview, we can use BMesh MK2. Plug in the vertices and then the matrix. Be careful here again. You need to turn on merge. Otherwise, you end up with multiple objects. This goes into that guy. So we have this live generated polygon. We can have our MetaBalls. Which MetaBalls? I think this guy. Parented to this guy, and then enable Dupli Faces, duplication on the face. Now we have this guy. And this is slightly more interesting because let's see, where's the original? Because we have control over the face, that means we can control the scaling. It should update the MetaBalls. Oh, I need to turn it on. Scale here. So this is the multiplication on the scale. With the scale on, we can control the scaling. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. In order for it to update, the frame needs to run as well, so you can see. We can randomize the scaling seed, and then we can control the face. Okay, so we have random size of MetaBalls. So this is nice. We don't even use particles. And for the face, I believe it's also understand the rotation differences. So if I use like a random number, random vector here, just use random vector from this guy to the plug into the rotations, and then use angle. Random number in the angle minus 180 to 180, size from this guy, and plug it to the angle. We have random angle of the polygon face, and then yeah, so this duplicated MetaBall also understand it. So this could be interesting because normally you don't have access to that, but with Sverchok, of course, you do have this control over the generations of the mesh, which control the MetaBalls, and that could be very, very interesting. Instead of the grid, for example, we can have random points. So we can delete this guy and use a stop. Let's stop the playback for a bit. Random vector, integer number to control the size. 1, 2, 3, 10. So this gonna place the plane in a random fashion, just like before, and also use this to randomize it further. Let's randomize the seed, have it like 30. update. Now we have, oops, we have this guy looking like that. Slightly more random, and this can be quite heavy. Something about MetaBalls is like I think every MetaBall will just generate a single surface. So there's something to keep in mind. Maybe I can create a different MetaBalls if I create another blobby that's separate, not this one. If I press on the F. Anyhow, you have control over all this. Can be useful. I don't know what this can be used for, but this is a potential. Okay, that's with Sverchok and MetaBalls and how Blender's on Dupli Face and Dupli Vert. Especially the face is an interesting one. You can kind of multiply it as well. Group, I don't use it much. I believe you can also mix and match MetaBalls. So if we have like capsule here, and we parent the capsule, yeah, it's using the same objects, which is currently using the face, and the capsule is also being randomized by this guy. Whoops, actually that's randomizing the vector position. It's randomizing the seed. That's controlling the rotation. That's interesting. I thought I have like a multiple vector. Maybe the center is not correct somewhere. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this live noding video. If you have any question, feedbacks, you can leave it down below. Thank you again. I'll see you on the next video.